What's up, guys? JP here with JP Street Performance LLC. Today we have a 2004 Toyota Tacoma 3.4 liter. We are going to be installing the brand new, it's not very old, maybe a couple months now, Magnuson Supercharger for this thing. So one of our good buddies, customers of ours, who went out and he bought it. He's got this thing all decked out, so we're going to do the supercharger install. This is going to be a step-by-step installation video for you guys. So any of you out there thinking about doing this to your Toyota, you can watch the entire process, you can learn from it, you can go with it, so stay tuned. Alright, you guys, so here it is. Here is the Magnuson kit. Pretty simple, straightforward. The only thing that we're seeing, the customer had mentioned this, is the intake plenum gasket. We may have to run down to the parts store for that, but they did get you a throttle body gasket, a template, because part of the timing cover is going to need to be cut. We're going to go through this book step by step with you guys, try to give you good point of view and kind of go from there. So first thing we want to start out with, just like with anything, we want to make sure we clean this out. I'm going to get some air. We're going to blow out as much dirt and dust as we can, get the battery disconnected, and we'll go from there. Okay, so step one is your system requires to use minimum 91 octane fuel. The instructions do tell you to put 91 in a full gas tank before the install, so that's something you guys want to make sure you do. My customer already did that, so he's been running 91, so that way you don't get any knocks or pings when the supercharger starts to boost, because you still have that old 87 gas in there. So you want to try to preemptively get 91 into the system, into the fuel lines. So step two, remove the negative battery cable with a 10mm wrench. We got that done, so we're going to go step one. Step two, insulate the wire, remove the last step towel, blah, blah. Number three, with tape or permanent marker, mark the forward edge of the power steering and the air conditioning compressor drive belts as shown at the yellow arrow marks. This will ensure that the belts will return to their original position and that they will rotate in the same direction. So, super easy. Let me get you guys in here to see a little better. Alright, so we want to do the forward edge. Make a little arrow like that on both these belts. And there you go. And we want to do, we can just label them, just in case we have to take them off. Alt P S for power steering. Okay, that's step three. Step four, if equipped, remove the gravel guard from beneath the radiator. This will give you access to the AC belt adjuster. The gravel guard is this big shield. I believe ours is already off because of this aftermarket bumper and everything, so we're good here on ours. So we're gonna go ahead and scratch that off. Move to step five. Loosen the pitch nut in the center of the AC compressor and loosen the adjuster bolt, the red arrow. So it's going to be a 14mm, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then we'll go ahead and get a 14 and a 14. I'll get under here for you guys. So looks like, I don't know if you guys can see this, hopefully, the AC pulley is here. We're going to loosen the jam nut. And then we're going to back off the underside nut, which will come in through, I believe with an extension you get it right through between the pan and the subframe here. Yeah, so right through here with an extension, you can get to that. Look here. Sorry, I'm not sure if you guys can even see this, but you get the gist. It's the AC tensioner. It'll move up, and you should be able to, belt should be loose from there. Okay, we got the number 5 is done. We got the AC belt loose where we can take it off. Number 6, loosen the power steering pump pivot bolt at the arrow located below. So, I believe that is also a 14. The pivot bolt. I know one of the pivot bolts is this one here. It swings on this one. So right past this sensor here is that 14. Get a wrench on it. I want to break that loose. Don't need to take it all the way out, but just loose. And then also down there with the nut and bracket, there is a 14 as well. That is the adjuster for the power steering. So now the power steering itself should be able to adjust. So we got the top pivot one loose and the bottom pivot one loose. There's a nut that goes in from the back side. That's the tensioner. So it'll pivot like that. So step 6 is done. Using an angled flathead ratchet, loosen the pinch nut at the yellow marker. That's the, I kind of went ahead. That's that secondary bolt I was talking about there. That's already loose. Now loosen the adjustable bolt behind the bracket at the end of the red arrow. So if you look here, that nut is connected to this long bolt, and there's a 14mm bolt on the end of this bracket here. So that's what we're going to get to next. Okay. So I'm going to try to get in here to see for you guys, but it's kind of hard to see. But so it's right under the pump, but you can't really see it. You almost have to just feel for it. But it comes in from the left side down here, almost between this line and this line, and it comes in at an upward angle. So there we are. I'm touching the bolt there. Okay. Well, all right. Okay, using a flat ratchet, loosen the nut. Now loosen the adjuster bolt behind the bracket and the red arrow to provide enough slack to remove the power steering belt. Check. Loosen the alternator pivot bolt and at the arrow location. Pivot bolt is right here. Then you're going to have one directly 180 degrees straight down below it, and then a side tensioner bolt just like we did on the power steering. There's one straight down, just kind of got to feel around for it, and this one is a 12mm. There you go. And then the side one feels smaller. So let's go back to the instructions. We can check that one. We can check this one's the one that's straight down. So we can check that one. Now we're going to get to this little adjuster bolt out the side. And that one I believe is going to be a 12mm as well, because it feels smaller than the normal. Okay, so see there, the alternator moves. We can go ahead and the power steering should move as well. There you go. We can take off this power steering belt, let it hang, take off this alternator belt, and just let it hang for now. The AC belt, I don't know if you guys can see it, but down there is already off, just in case it needs to come off. So, we know we're done with that. Loosen the air intake tube clamps at the throttle body and the air box shown below. And we are going to remove this here. And this one, oh, is already loose. That's never good. Not after the mass airflow sensor. So that'll definitely cause some drivability issues there. So just loosen the air tubes, throttle body, and air box shown below. Boom. Disconnect the mass airflow sensor plug. Pretty good instructions. Obviously, I'm doing this step by step for you guys. I'd be working a little bit off of memory normally, but here we are. So, alright. So, there's a little clip right here. You can pinch those two tabs. Plug, you just press down, and then these slide up. So, mass airflow, boom. Caution, the air sensor shown with the arrow is fragile, so be careful when working around it. Not all vehicles have this air sensor. Okay, check. Carefully remove the wiring anchor points from the air tube. These points will be used again. That's what we just did with, see, I'm a little ahead of this, with the mass airflow wiring. Disconnect the hose shown at the yellow arrow. Remove the hose at the red arrow. Pretty simple. It's already popped out of that one, and this one is popped off of that one. There we go. Disconnect the vent hose at the arrow side here. And we are gonna walk this bad boy off. That is your vent hose. Check. 16. Remove the air intake tube. This will be reused. Air intake tube. If your vehicle is equipped with cruise control, do not remove the cruise cable from the throttle body. If you do, it'll need to be readjusted later. Okay, rotate the throttle body lever clockwise and disconnect the ball end of the cable through the hole shown. Yep. Boom. Okay. Use two 14mm wrenches to loosen the throttle cable adjustment nuts. Do not remove, and pull the cable housing up out of the bracket. Mark our cable just as an extra precaution. So you just make your own little marks, just kind of so you know if those marks show. Hard for you guys to see on camera, but I can see them here. So just enough. You don't got to go super loose, but basically adjust them enough to slide that out there. 18 is done. 19. Some trucks are equipped with one or two vacuum switch valves, VSV assemblies. To locate yours, consult the appropriate diagram at the end of this manual. The valve is mounted on the end of this. Sorry. If the valve is mounted on the rear of the engine, it should be relocated to the firewall with the supplied bracket. Okay, so ours does not have, I just went and looked, ours does not have this valve. You can skip that step. Number 20, note the tension and adjustment of the throttle cable and the transmission throttle pressure kickdown cable, if equipped. You will need to recreate these adjustments during the assembly procedure. To help you remember, look for the small metal bead, the stake stopper, automatic transmissions only, on the kickdown cable. If the cable is properly adjusted, the bead should be flush with the end of the cable's rubber sheath. Your vehicle may not have this dual cable setup. Ours does not. Ours is a single cable. Electronic for the rest of the throttle body. So, and cruise control. Next, unplug throttle body lever. Lever sensor connected shown at the arrow location. Unplug the throttle position sensor at the arrow located. push pretty hard. There it goes. So it's just kind of a flat thing you got to push real hard on. Remove the vacuum hose from the throttle body, but do not remove the coolant hoses. This is your coolant hose. You're not going to remove these. You're only going to remove the vacuum hose. And use 2 hands. Check. Remove the 2 nuts and 2 bolts holding the throttle body at the arrow locations. Right here. Okay. On to step number 25. Remove the throttle body with the attached coolant hoses and cruise control cable, if equipped, and set to the passenger side. I'm going to set it down just like that, right there. At the driver's side of the engine, remove the diagnostics plug, yellow arrow, from its mount bracket and set it aside. Remove the bolt, red arrow, and the bracket that holds the diagnostic connector to the manifold. Save for reassembly. Yeah, we don't have a diagnostic sensor, so we're good there. Remove the ground wire and move it to one side. There is our ground cable. Remove the power brake booster vacuum hose from the intake manifold at the arrow location. A pre-2000 Tacoma T100 may be equipped with this. Is not a pre-2000. If it is, you guys are going to follow that step there. Remove the PC hose at the arrow location. It'll be right here on this passenger side. I'm going to disconnect it there. Check. Remove the evap hose from the tube on the upper manifold. Side here. Pinch that clamp and remove that hose. Remove the hose and clamp on the back of the upper manifold. This is what it's talking about. Just so remove this hose from that clamp there. Remove the bolts holding the throttle cable bracket. Save this bracket and bolt for reinstallation. 10 millimeter. One there. There's another throttle cable here. And just take these both off. I'm sure they're going to have us take that off because this intake's coming off. So, very important. Do not contaminate your work environment or allow any debris to fall into the parts. 12 millimeter socket wrench to remove the nuts from the upper half of the intake. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come around to the back side. 5 right here. There you go. One back here. Here is your upper plenum. Just as a precautionary, I'll go ahead and take off the steel gasket. And run some tape over. I mean, this manifold's coming off here in literally a few minutes, so just kind of a precautionary, keep anything from falling down in there. We're going to do the same thing to the lower manifold. Set aside the upper intake, we got that. Remove the bolts on the back of the lower intake manifold shown at the arrow. This one is already actually missing. There's supposed to be a 10 millimeter in there. Check that. Disconnect the hose from the back of the lower manifold. That's the lower back there. Remove the bolt shown at the arrow. So I think we already did that one. Yeah, so this was that other throttle cable. Want to remove that next. Check. Remove the bolt at the location. So this one is going to be the actual support bracket, which is a 12 millimeter right here in this. Check. Loosen the lower bolt on the bracket that you just removed the upper bolt to. So, this is the bracket we just removed. If you trace it down, there's going to be a 14 millimeter bolt down there. The light's right on it. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but we're going to loosen that 14. Doesn't say take it out, it just says loosen it. So, I do this without falling. We'll be successful. Let's try that. I know you guys don't have much of a view here, but alright. There it goes. I see the bracket moving. Loosen the lower bracket that you just removed the upper bolt. Do not remove this bolt. The bracket will be used to secure the supercharger. Okay. Checkmate. Next, remove the 2 bolts shown in the arrows. It's going to be 2 of the steel lines. Looks like for us, yeah, 2 of them. Right there. Straight back, and then one right next to it. So those 2 10s. There's one. And 2. Okay, there's one. We're going to put this with all the rest of the 10s. And then we're going to go for this one here. There goes our flashlight. Plug in. There we are. Okay, let's scratch that one out. Remove the 3 bolts at the yellow arrow. So it's going to be the center bolts for the intake manifold first. So 1, 2, 3 should be here in the very front of the manifold and very back of the manifold. That one's going to be a little bit more difficult to get to because this thing is lifted, so we're going to have to kind of crawl on up here a bit to get back there to reach these things. Alright. Now very gently and carefully, not to knock in any debris, we're going to gently lift this away and out of there, like so. Grab our gasket. These are steel gaskets, so that is good. This might be why the kit did not come with a gasket, because these usually you can reuse along the front of that for now, just to keep any crazy debris from falling in while we do the rest. Alright. There we go. And all those holes are sealed off. We don't have to worry about anything that's unwanted falling in. There we go. Remove the lower, boom. Remove and inspect the gasket. If it is in good shape, reuse it. If not, replace it. Yep, so inspect it really good. It still has a lip to crush, so that is good. Oh yeah, it's got a good raise to it. So we can reuse this one. We'll clean it with some brake clean, and we'll reuse that gasket, so we don't even have to order a gasket. That's awesome. Okay, so we know that the surface is clean enough to accept tape. We have it taped, so there's 45, 46. Now, this is the template they sent us. Okay, so it looks like we're going to want to cut this template out as they did here. Oh, that's a great idea. So if you look here, there's the bolt on the timing cover. It will go through this bolt hole here, and we are going to cut along this dotted line. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay. Markers of all shapes and sizes. So it does say we need to remove the clips for the spark plug wires. So these things, so you know, they clip on the back side, which is kind of dumb, but they clip on the back. If you try to pry them from the front, usually they'll break. So you'll feel, if you reach underneath, use a pick, it's easier. If you reach underneath, you'll feel where they flare up, where you're supposed to grab the tab. So we're just going to grab the tab. This one's harder to get to because the fuel line is right in the way, so that's why I'm using a pick. And see, they just pop right off. But that's the flare right there that you push down on. If you try to push these off, a lot of times they'll just break. They get weak right in here and they'll just snap right on the backside. So that's how you guys get those off. Take our template, which should go right over that hole now. I was saying how it's spherical, so it should kind of preset itself in there. Might need a little bit of assistance, but just kind of need a blunt object, but now we use the round side of this, where it won't puncture the paper, but there it is. See, made itself nice and round and true. Push it all the way to the back. And this goes like so. Replace spark plug clip wire here. Okay, so the clip wire is going to go here, down here. Mark cover along this edge. Fold along this line. Oh, yeah, there you go. So it's going to fold right here, but we don't really need to fold it because it's not much of a curve. We can just follow this. If you take both fingers, push right here, you can feel that there's a tiny little step, and that's what that's doing. So we got that folded. Now we need to mark where we're going to cut. So that's folded, that's folded, that's folded, and that's folded like that. So we're going to cut this is where we are going to cut. So, take the template back out. There you guys go. That is where we're going to cut. Okay, so I have a plastic welder that has a hot knife. So the only reason I like the hot knife is because you can really control it. There's no particles going anywhere. So, I'm going to let that cool. I have a deburring tool somewhere. This will actually work really well. It's not a deburr, but it's a curved blade here. And we're just going to use this to fine tune this a little bit. And that's very careful not to cut ourselves. There it goes. Just got to get under it. Once it gets under, we can kind of trim all this up. Okay, so one thing, while we're in here with the intake manifold off, we are going to replace the spark plugs because the driver's side is kind of a pain to get to when the intake, or especially the supercharger, is in the way. So we got some new spark plugs here. So we're going to go ahead and change those while we're at this position before we move along any further. So okay, so we're at number 49. We got the spark plugs changed. Make sure you guys check your spark plug gap if you're doing it, and also torque your spark plugs. You guys will see me use this. This has a variable speed control. So depending on how much you pull the trigger, it's how fast the thing spins. So what I do is I get the thread started, a couple turns by hand, run them down real slow and gentle with this until the washer just touches, and then torque them to 18 foot-pounds. So, alright, so next, final step of the disassembly is attach the plastic wire loom to the cut edge of the front cover as shown below. So it's going to go right down in the very bottom arc of the cut that we made. So, okay. There you have it. That's down out of the way of the supercharger there. So, some caffeine. Okay. Section 2, install. Remove the bolt holding the dipstick tube. Remove the oil dipstick, followed by the dipstick tube. Pull straight up. Good. Unbolt her. Okay, I'll set that there with the rest of those. And the dipstick tube should just pull pretty much straight out like that. Number 5 is done. Unclip the wire loom from the factory bracket at the red arrow and remove the bracket at the yellow arrow and replace with supplied wire loom relocation bracket. We're gonna remove this bad boy. Okay. Camera's doing. Okay, there you are. So this is the thermostat and the bolt we're taking off. This is the bracket. This is where the dipstick was there. Pretty sure the camera caught that one, but you never know. So, little guy off. And they show they're zip tied, so I'm assuming if your factory clip breaks, you guys can replace that. Set that down with the rest of that. This is the new bracket we're working with. Okay. Unclip the wire loom from that bracket, replace with supplied wire loom relocation bracket shown below. So, this is the second picture here. Use the existing nut on the water pump upper housing stud to install the bracket from the last step. Ensure the bracket is clocked in the orientation shown. Torque to 168 inch-pounds. And clip the wire loom back into the supplied bracket. So, from the engine. So we're going to clip it in our stock bracket first. There we are. Okay. And then we're going to reinstall the nut. We're going to torque to 168 inch-pounds, which ensuring that our bracket is further away. Alright, 14 foot-pounds. And that's that. 51, 52. Alright. Okay. So, 53. Wear eye protection when using compressed air. Use compressed air to blow out the 2 threaded holes shown at the arrows. So, those are just right above that bracket. One here. I don't know if you guys can see in there, but ours look really good. Sort of regular dust coming from the block. Where's our other hole? Our other hole is... Oh, try not to bump the camera too much. Our other hole is... Alright. A little bit harder to get to. If these go in by hand easily, then we know we are good. On that end. So, grab the camera again. Flashlight. Just over here mumbling to you guys. Alright, so here's hole number 1. Goes right in by hand really easily. Okay, so we're good on that one. And hole number 2, just a lot harder to get to, but right there, I believe, is hole number 2. Okay, that one takes a little more pressure. We're going to spray some cleaner in there. Awesome. There we go. That should break up any of that debris that might just be in there. Oh yeah. Threads are already looking clean. check that one again. Make sure we don't need to run a chase through it. Find it. Right in there. Oh yeah, look at that. Goes in by hand now. Nice and easy. Check. Let's apply some Loctite to the provided bolts. This can go on there. Quarter the way up. Set that down. Insert the M10. Okay, so the next thing is going to be our bracket. We're going to have a beveled and a non-beveled. So this is going to be the top bolt, the bottom bolt. Alright, there is bracket number 1. Location number 1. And then location number 2. And that was the hole I was talking about. That's going to be where the tensioner is going to go. So get this ran in just a little bit so we know it's true and center. And then this one is self-centering. That's why they put a beveled bolt, which is awesome. And 25 is the magic number. There's 25 foot-pounds. Okay, remove the lower bolt. Let's take that bolt back out. Okay, here's our lower bolt. Set the alternator to the mid of its adjustability bracket. Okay, so here's the middle of its adjustability bracket there. We're going to set it to the mid, and then we're going to torque the pivot bolt to 25 and the lock nut, jam nut to 25, and the upper bolt to 38 foot-pounds. So midway, I got about, yeah, it's about dead center right there. So I want to run this in. That little side bolt too, run that in so you can't move at all, so you guys get a good view of it. Okay, there you go. We're gonna be upside down, but hey, about middle point of this bracket, and this is what I was tightening down just so it touches. So that's about even from here to here, there to there. So down there, a little easier to get to it from down there. We'll do the 25 foot-pounds, and I think one of our cameras just died, of course. I don't know. These cheap aftermarket GoPro batteries are miserable. Nope, we're gonna have to get it from the top. From the top. Okay, 25 foot-pounds. Now the top one is a 14 millimeter at 38 foot-pounds. Okay, 38 foot-pounds. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get this belt here. This is going to go in place of your alternator belt. We're going to get, this one is, let's see. Your AC one is your farthest one. Down on the bottom. Your alternator is here. So, we're going to get this weave through all these other belts. Let's just get this out. Getting rid of this belt here. Alternator belt, sorry, AC belt can come off completely. Weave the alternator belt around the fan to get it out of there. Okay. So once we get it past all the fins, one more down there. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, we'll pull it all the way up. Well, 1 in. There we go. All the way up. We're gonna go down. Walk it past the power steering belt. As we know. There we go. Now we got the extended belt in there. Where are we now? Okay, we are on step 57. Gather the provided belt tensioner. Assembly shown on the right. Ensure that you line up. This is what I was talking about. This little dowel is going to go into that bracket we just put in. Has a little dowel there. We've got to make sure that seats properly. So here's the belt. Make sure that's going through there. I want to guide our long bolt through the bracket into the dowel. I want to find the dowel. There's the dowel. You'll know you're in the dowel because you can't rotate it any more than that. Okay, let's make sure we're in our groove. It looks flush. Yep, see, that looks flush. You know you're in your groove, otherwise it would be sticking out. Still can't rotate it. So we're still in our groove, so we can go ahead and torque that down to the recommended 40 foot-pounds. Okay. 40 foot-pounds. Alright. Working properly. Okay, so we know we're done with 57 and 58. Skip step. This step for 2001 and newer 4Runners. Well, this is not a 4Runner. This is a Tacoma. So the IAC hose and the coolant hoses are similar in size. Don't cut the wrong ones. Cut the hose leading to the IAC valve at the location shown and insert the kit's one-way valve into the straight part of the pipe. Okay, so the one-way valve looks like it's going to be in here. An arrow flow. It's really hard to see, but there's a little arrow there, so it should flow this way. And where it shows on the picture, it's going to go, here's the fuel rails. So the IAC comes up, goes to the throttle body. The middle hump there. So we're going to take that and hack it. Alright, there's our middle hump. We want to make sure the airflow is flowing away from the throttle body towards. Arrow is pointing that way. That's the way we want it to go. So we're going to go from here. Again, arrow pointing that way into here. There you go. Just like that, guys. And that's going to go back around through kind of there because that sits. We took that one off earlier, but that's that line there. So I'll make sure that that's going to line back up like that when we're ready to put it back together. Okay, check. Remove the tape from the engine manifold. I'll lay this further over. Okay. I'm going to clean the surface really nice. Make sure there's no oil or anything. Same thing with the gasket. Make sure there's no dust, no oil. I think this gasket looks really good. Remove the tape. Check. Reinstall the stock gasket if it's in good shape. This one is in good shape, so we're going to go ahead and reinstall it. And it should go. Double coppers are to the right. So, double coppers to the right. That one goes there. That one goes, there's a stud there. Lower the supercharger manifold into place, making sure there are no hoses, wires in the way. the ignition wires should be routed beneath the supercharger's drive housing. Particles have made their way in there. Nope, we're good there. So they got a little bit of, looks like paint or powder coat right here. Those things you want to watch out for, because that'll keep the gasket from sealing. So we definitely want to be aware of that and get all of that powder coat off so that we don't run into a gasket sealing issue. But yeah, that's a casting issue on their part, but nothing to be concerned with. So, oh yeah, it's smooth. Okay. Alright, you guys, so now we're going to stab this thing without, hopefully, too much issues. We're going to lower this back in there, like so. Alright, again ensuring that none of our wires are getting pinched. Lower the supercharger manifold, making sure there are no hoses or wires in the way. Okay, we're good there so far. This wire that we just put that thing in, sorry, this hose is good. Nothing's pinched in the back or kinked. So just give it a good once around. Everything's looking good. Here's those wires. You see they're loose and out of the way. They go down and around. That's there. Nothing's kinked there. We're good back here so far. So far, so good. Check. When the assembly sits flat on the engine, loosely install the stock manifold brace. Driver's side bolt. Driver's side bolt and spacer, or supplied spacer shown below. Is any of this? I'm going to put it all, different caps and sizes. Put it all over here so nothing gets lost out of this bag. Okay, there we go. So it's going to be this spacer and this bolt with the little shank on there. So very careful here not to drop it because it is black and hard to see. I want to loosely install this. Don't want to tighten it because then you might not seat this properly. So just want it loose. I'm assuming these two are going to be with that. So number 64, apply Loctite to the stock nuts, two supplied M830 bolts and one supplied okay, so these are going to be the two supplied plus this one plus the stock bolts, which, so let's get some Loctite applied to all. Woo! Alright, 1, 2, 3. These are 1 and 2. That's what we're using. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 total. I'm going to put some Loctite on these. 1, 2. Do not use the OEM bolts. So, boom. Copy that. Insert the bolts and nuts from the last step on the stock engine manifold locations, alternating at 15 foot-pounds. Just because we know it's centered. 1, Lines perfectly up. Okay. 2, 3. That's going to go in here. 2 and 3. Okay, and then our stock nut locations, which is those studs in the very front and very rear of this. So this is the kind of the tricky part, is getting these ones on because they're kind of in a tight spot. So okay, ouch. Okay, are kind of in a troublesome spot. So gonna need a chrome. These are impact sockets, so we're gonna switch to chrome. Okay, let's try that again. Oh yeah, that's the trick right there. Run these down by hand. No boy.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a...
Okay, 15 foot-pounds across the board. Go back to the brace from 3 steps ago and torque the upper bolt to 15 foot-pounds. Slowly but surely, we should be able to sneak this wrench in there all the way. There it goes. 15 foot-pounds. All right. A stranged one at the bottom. There's kind of a bear to get to, so. Okay. And there you go. 15 foot-pounds. Yeah. Connect the vacuum lines from the brake booster to the air tube and the back of the supercharger. So we got the brake booster line on. Now we're going to step 69 for the evap canister hose. Is going to go in the port right next to the port we were just working with. If your vehicle does not have a vacuum assisted brake booster, you would cap off that one. So let's go and hook up the evap hose right about there. Cut that off. Get your factory clamp back on here. Slide that down. Slide that on here. There you go. So we're done. That attach the OEM bracket for the throttle cable housing and the arrow location. Okay. There we go. Looks nice. Check. Number 71. Attach the OEM bracket for the diagnostic plug at the yellow arrow location and torque to secure the diagnostic plug onto the bracket. Attach the 2 electrical grounds in the red arrows. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and attach these 2. We don't have this diagnosis plug, so this here is our grounds. And then back inside here, one of those 2 brackets can come over and be placed. I don't know if you can see that, but wobble. There it is. 1, 2. All right. follow the diagram for the belt. Double check your crank pulley. I'm on this passenger side. Double checking on the driver's side. Good there. So now what we do, I'm stuck on something. Hold on. Oh, we're around a stud. There we go. That'll give us a little bit more stretch. You do it without falling. Let's take off the alternator. Get around the supercharger. There you go. There we are. Okay. Make sure it's on everything. Alright. We got some tension left in this tensioner. Yep. It's not maxed out, so that's good. Belt is on. Using 3/8 ratchet, blah blah, pulley clockwise, blah blah. We've done that. That is kind of the same step. Extra detailed. Install the power steering and AC belts according to their... Okay, we're going to put the original belts back on, which they're still on. We're just going to tighten them down. Okay, you want to check your belt and make sure it's not too tight, not too loose, so it doesn't squeal on you. Darn good, but I like to, here's our belt, I like to make sure I can turn the belt 90 degrees basically, either way. That's usually a good amount of deflection in the belt without it being too tight, too loose. I mean, this one I could probably go just a little tighter. There we go. That's a lot better. So, right there and right there. We're going to go ahead and tighten down this nut here. Next one is going to be our power steering belt. Right there. Okay. And that's about the right firmness too, so we're good. We're going to lock that down. Alright, that one's tight. Now let's get down here. We're going to get the jam nut tight. There we go. Alright, we got that tight, guys. Belts are all on. Okay, belts are all on. Number 75. Note, be sure to maintain proper dipstick seal at oil pan. Check rubber grommet at end of dipstick tube for engagement as you install it. Clean this bad boy. Here's the rubber grommet. Still feels like soft rubber, so that's good. Looks like we are going to use this bracket here. It's going to come with a new bolt, which is one of these. We'll reuse the old bolt on the housing. We're going to make sure we get this aligned properly. Okay, so it doesn't hit the belt. Okay, so it's in the hole. Now we're going to move it over, which may take a little bit of finagling, but we're going to put this bolt here in finger tight so we have a little bit extra leverage. Oh, we're there. Okay, we are there. Okay. Now we're going to need 10 millimeter. Verify your dipstick is still in the hole. Looks like ours can be loosened a little bit and tap just a hair more into the hole. Much better. Much more in the proper location. Keep tension downwards on the dipstick. One dipstick. There you go. Clears the belt beautifully. Dipstick is done. Now, reinstall the OEM bolt that was in the back of the upper intake manifold location on that plastic piece. We did not have a bolt there. However, we have some extra bolts here from the kit for different options. So we're going to go ahead and use one of these because it's the same size. Okay, so it's going to be back there. Not sure. Yeah, that should be the silver bolt right here. Ratchet on there. 77. Run the hose from fuel pressure regulator to the brass barb at the rear of the supercharger. If you plan to run a boost gauge, this is where you use the T hose fitting to connect the hose here. Come on over to our vacuum lines, and looks like we are out of most of our stuff, except there should be a piece in here that is the right size. Yeah, that's a lot closer. I can make that work for sure. We're going to cut it longer, make sure we have enough length. So now we're going to run this back through. We're also going to run this back down and through, and then we want to run this vacuum line right to this barb. That goes to the fuel pressure regulator. Barb done. If your vehicle is equipped with an EGR, which we are not on this one, check the diagram at the back of the manual that corresponds to your vehicle to see if it requires a cap or at the supercharger or an inlet barb shown. Reuse the factory cap at this location. Okay, so on ours, this is a 2004. So this is 4-wheel drive. So let's get to the newer 4Runner, Tacoma 2-wheel drive. So ours does not have a vacuum throttle opener, which would go to the port. Ours is electronically controlled. There is no vacuum port here on the side of the throttle body. It's all electronic. So we are going to cap this needle here. Right there. Okay, now if you had 2 studs on your OEM upper intake manifold, you'll have to remove these, which we did. So we need to take 2 of these bolts, grab 2 12 millimeters, and we'll back these out. So next we're gonna go back up here. Slide this down in the way. Those don't need to be super crazy tight. Pair of channel locks right here on the shaft where there's no threads. Just go and grab it. Give it a couple turns just till it's snug. New gasket's gonna match our shape here. Like so. Alright. We'll leave enough room to get to our PCV. Got the gasket. The OEM fasteners. Right there. Alright. Try not to slide off of this thing. 1, 2, 3. Plug in the throttle position sensor and the vacuum hose. Okay, so we can get this thing plugged in finally. All the way up. We can plug this bad boy in. We can also plug this bad boy in. Okay, got that. Install the inlet air intake tube. Should be all pretty much its factory locations for all of this stuff. Okay. Alright, there's that. And there it is. Get this out of there, it's stuck. Come on. Get that out of there. Okay. Okay. There it is. We can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Same thing here. This one was one of these was loose from the get-go, so we want to make sure they're tight this time. Okay. Those are tight. That's all on. Install the throttle. Install the inlet tube, the throttle body, airbox, tighten the clamps and at the arrows. Check. Install mass airflow sensor on some older vehicles. You may need to carefully not to damage the sensor. We got that. Connect the vent hose. Got that. Okay, install OEM clamp for upper manifold onto. Alright. So the OEM clamp is still on this intake here. I was looking for it. I was like, where did it go? They never had us pull it from the beginning, so we're gonna go right here. OEM clamp. Put the hose up inside. There you go. Check. On this one, consult with the diagram at the end of this manual. Determine if you want to place a cap at the yellow arrow location. So this is going to be in the resonator box on the intake. Intake silencer resonator, basically. It's capped off, so I'm going to cap it. Okay. We're going to put this back up in here. Okay, capped. Attach 3/8 PVC. This is what they got us. And you want they give us clamps for this, 1 and 2. I'm going to go one first. Not to fall. Okay. Some needle nose pliers. One there. You see that? There's your new PCV line. Check. 92. Install the provided bracket. We don't have 2 cables. We know we only have 1. So it's either going to be this one or that one. Let's look at its height. So overall height. Compared to where it was. Roughly. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay. Get rid of that. So if we put the cable in, now we got to find out if this is here, which is about right. 2 of these bolts here match. I believe we're going to go with this hole and this hole. There. Okay. Grab our 214s. Kind of moving along a little faster than what all this is. Install, tighten. There we are. We're at those. And we know we kind of spun this one just a hair. Where's our red mark? There's our red mark. So it's mostly this one, which is perfect. If your throttle is not properly adjusted, performance will suffer. For vehicles with dual cables, we don't have to worry about that. Vehicles with dual cables at the throttle, proper throttle, we don't have to worry about that. Vehicles with dual cables, we don't have to worry about that. Newer 4Runners, use diagram corresponding to your vehicle. Back manual, check routing and vacuum lines. Check. Install that. We don't have that. Attach the battery ground cable. Run engine for 15 minutes and check for leaks. Okay. So, the old cable that used to go here, we're not going to use that. We're going to zip tie these just so we don't have to worry about these walking themselves forward into the supercharger, because that would be no good. So, one more. I think that'll be good. Yeah. Okay. You guys have that. We're about ready to start this thing up. Carb numbers. Okay, so we got a couple stickers. We're going to put this in the gas tank, this up on the hood, that up on the hood. A couple Magnuson Supercharger stickers. We don't have that. We got our ground cable connect, run for 15 minutes, and apply stickers. So while it's running, we'll do all the stickers. Here we go. First initial start. Okay. Feels good. No misfires. back here for premium fuel only. Itself. There it goes. Oh, come on. There we go. There you go. Very visible. Use premium fuel only. So we're gonna run the. We don't live in California, woohoo! But we'll run the California carb number, just in case this ever gets sold in California. Okay, there's your California carb number. Right on top of here. Don't want it up on the hood. So I'll wipe this clean. All right, look at that. Got that. Apply the Magnuson belt diagram. Test drive the vehicle. Alright. There you have it, YouTube. One Magnuson Supercharger installed on a 3.4 liter Toyota. This is a Tacoma, but this kit also fits the Toyota 4Runner, and it fits multiple year 3.4s. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more YouTube content. Thanks, guys.